Alright, this is part 2. Ready? Let's go. Dance. You know how I dance. Come on, part 2. Everybody dance now. You might as well start dancing now. There's no sense in crying. You know, as a Christian, it's like being a battery. You have the positive side and you have the negative side to every situation. And together, you are balanced. Some people don't like the word balanced. Anyways, in the first video, I was getting to the good part. I actually taped it to 15 minutes, but some strange reason YouTube keeps cutting my videos off. So I just decided to put part 2 on my videos. So I was talking in my last video about the calm before the storm. That basically there's 3 entities that are going to be through 3 groups of power players that are going to try to knock each other off the mountain or the hill. You ever played that when you're a kid? King of the Hill? And everybody tries to knock the guy on top off. And that's what you're having right now in the political world and the spiritual world, you know, religious world combined. See, religion and politics are very, very similar. One uses the name of God or Allah or Jesus or Mary or Buddha or whatever, angels, but it's politics. It's all politics. But there is the true message of Jesus according to the Bible. And this video, basically, I want to connect it to the last one, the calm before the storm. It was about the Republicans having their victory. Is it a victory, or is it the calm before the storm? And I was talking about these 3 power groups that are going to try to knock each other off the planet in the near future. They've been struggling, but it reminded me of you got a Bible. If you don't have a Bible, then you don't have the newspaper for the future. And in the book of Revelation, you got to read that. There's a blessing stated in the scriptures to read the book of Revelation, to listen to it, to talk about it, and to do it. Revelation 17, it's talking about this political, religious systems on the earth in the last days. We're living in the last days, bottom line. So it's time to dance. It's time to pray. It's time to cry. It's time to do everything A to Z now, because this is the last leg of the race. And I said there was 3 entities. One of the entities was the beast system. The beast, which comprises, it's really the new revised Roman Empire, which I believe it's America and Europe combined with its tentacles, with the banking system, etc. So that is one entity, that's one group in the last days that's going to fight the other 2 groups. The other 2 groups I was mentioning, I only got to the Catholic Church or the Vatican. Basically, it's a political entity and a spiritual entity combined. Some people call it the mafia. You know, if you don't know, do a Google or a web search on the Vatican, and it's just a simple search, and you'll find out that it's one of, if not the richest organizations in the world. Not just a spiritual entity, but a political entity with its own currency, etc., etc., and it's a corrupt one. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure this out. And the third one is, so we got the beast system, and then we got the Vatican, which I believe is the great whore of the book of Revelation, Revelation chapter 17. I'll get into that in a moment. And the third entity, when I got cut off here on this last video, which I shouldn't have been, is the Israelis, or the Jewish nation of Israel. These 3 entities they have been fighting each other for years, trying to get their agenda on the earth. They use each other to get advantage. The Israelis use America, America uses the Israelis, the Vatican uses both of them to get their policies on the earth. But it's a very interesting chapter on Revelation 17, basically talking about 2 of the 3, I believe, talking about the beast and talking about the Vatican. And if you have, we don't have time to read this, but if you have a chance to read this whole chapter, read it in the King James, read it in the New Living, read it in other translations, to break it apart, and etc., etc., a whole bunch of them. People say, why do you read so many translations? I thought the Word of God is can't be changed. It's got nothing to do with changing the Word of God. It's understanding what the words mean, and there's nothing wrong with reading various translations to break down the Scriptures. Not taking away or adding to it, but explaining it. So some people are at a kindergarten level about when you talk about that, and they don't understand that. Now it's just the King James, just the King James. Now, I believe the King James Bible is a very accurate translation. It has some mistranslations not from God, but from the authors who wrote it, because it's a spiritual book and you have to be spiritual to understand every facet of it. They did a great job. So you can keep the King James Version as a base because it's very, very good to find out doctrines when you have a truer translation, but have the other translations as well to help you understand and rightly divide the word. Does that make sense? Okay, it does. Revelation 17 talks about two of the systems. It doesn't talk really so much about the Israelis or Israel, the nation of Israel. Now I know what some people are thinking. Some people think that, oh no, God, you're anti-Catholic or you're anti-American or you're anti-Jewish if you talk about these things. No. Jesus said, watch and pray. You're supposed to watch and pray and see all these things. There's lots of people in America that are great. There's lots of people in the Catholic Church that are great. There's lots of people who are Jewish or in Israel and around the world that are Jewish that are great. It's got nothing to do with anti-whatever. It's got to do with what is truly going on behind the scenes. But a lot of these groups have propaganda machines that try to stop people from talking about what's really going on by calling them anti-American, or this is anti-American to talk about the truth, or you're unpatriotic, or you're anti-Catholic, or you're a Catholic hater, or you're anti-Semitic, you're anti-Jewish. I remind people all the time, I said, hey, we're all from Adam and Eve. We all were born on this rock. We all live on the planet, so we're all related. And and so we're not anti-anything. We're all related. We're all born on this rock. It's humans that divide people into categories, and that's a bunch of baloney. And so it's not anti-anything. It's the truth, and you're very patriotic, and you're very, a great person if you start unraveling what's going on. So I said all that to say, I'm going to put a bunch of videos on here. Hopefully you'll get the links on here. That I'll try to put on all these issues. I'll do a little bit on Israel and the corruption that's going on in Israel, the corruption that's going on in the Catholic Church, and the corruption, of course, that's going on in America. There's rogue parts of these entities that are basically controlling it as in a dark side way. And we have to realize that. We have to fight that with our prayers, with our voting, with our internet connections, with our communications one to another to sidestep the corporate Judases, I call them, who they only print what they want to push their agenda. We're not supposed to do that. We're supposed to give the truth no matter where the chips land. And in Revelation chapter 17, well, I want to say this first. We are living in the last days. The new revised Roman Empire, the beast, I believe Obama, I said this in the first video, is the Antichrist. I believe he's been chosen to finalize the New World Order. But the New World Order, the beast, and the Vatican will fight each other, I believe, in the near future here. It says in Revelation 17:1, and then, don't forget, that I think the Vatican will be blown to smithereens by the beast system, and then the Antichrist will come after the Jew into the Battle of Armageddon, etc., etc. Why do they do that? Because basically the devil is running the ungodly systems in a way that he wants to be worshipped. So everybody wants Jerusalem, blah, blah, blah. I've been to Jerusalem. You can have Jerusalem. I'd be a terrible tour guide of Israel because it's dirty, it's old. Hey, give me Southern California any day. And actually, according to the Bible prophecies, Jesus will come back. He's the Messiah, and he'll distribute the lands anyway. So why fight over it now? Actually, it's very interesting because if you look at some of the Jewish Orthodox or the Orthodox Jews, rabbis, and they do marches all across New York and Israel, and they're very vocal in the on the web online, where they're saying that, you know, to be true Jews is not really to occupy the lands until the Messiah comes back. Now that's something that you don't hear much about, and preachers are too chicken to talk about that. But I'm going to put some videos on there as well, as Orthodox Jews, the ones with the hats and the beards, and they're talking about that Zionism, basically the overtaking of the nations, you know, underhandedly